Hi everyone, it's Astronaut B again with today's exciting array mission. In today's coding adventure, we'll begin by discovering the fundamental concepts of arrays and indexing. By using square brackets and indices, we'll unlock the data stored in individual array elements. In addition to accessing the values within arrays via their indices, we will also be able to modify those values. Indices will become our guiding stars as we use loop variables to access and process each element, one at a time, using their index value. So, fellow cosmic travelers, buckle up and prepare for this thrilling voyage through the universe of arrays and indexing. Our adventure begins now. From our last lesson, we know that an array is a list of data all in a row stored in the same variable. But what if we wanted to access just one specific spot on the array? This is where index values, or indices, are really helpful. An index is a number assigned to each item in an array. Index values begin at 0 and continue for each item in the array. Picture a row of houses with mailboxes, where the house numbers start at 0. As a mail carrier, I want to deliver mail to house number 2, so I look for that number and place the mail in that mailbox. When the owner arrives home, they know to check the mailbox with their house number on it to retrieve the mail at that location. An index value for an array works exactly the same way. You can think of an array as a row of boxes, just like those mailboxes, where each box can store a value as content. We use square brackets, looking a bit like a box, to access the value in one particular box. By enclosing an index within these brackets, we access the data residing in that particular array element. For example, when we use my array index 0, we are able to retrieve the first element within my array. Recall that when computers count, they start at 0. Let's use what we've learned about index values to try a coding example. For this task, we have an array of test scores from a piloting exam named Scores List. I don't have access to all of the scores in the array, but when I took my pilot exam, I was assigned index number 2, so I could check my score. In order to access my score from this array, I can simply type print scores list index 2 in order to get the value of my score. Oh no, I missed the passing mark by 5 points. But wait, I remember I have this extra credit certificate. This extra credit certificate allows me to add 5 points. In order to use this certificate, we need to be able to modify information at a particular index.
Here's how we do it. We can treat scores list index 2 as a variable. Since we want to update the value of this variable to 90, we can just write scores list index 2 gets the value of scores list index 2 plus 5. Scores list index 2 currently holds the value of 85. Once we add 5 to that value, I now have a passing grade with a score of 90.
Two of my friends also each had an extra credit certificate. They have index values of 7 and 12 respectively, and they each have an extra credit certificate for 3 points. Can you write code to add 3 to those index values? Do this in your guided notes.
To set my friends' scores to be 3 more than they currently are, we write scores list index 7 equals scores list index 7 plus 3, and scores list index 12 equals scores list index 12 plus 3. Excellent work!
I've just heard that we have an entire class of students who want to apply their 4-point extra credit certificate. We could do this individually just like we did with my 2 friends, but a much better way would be using a loop. Let's try using a loop with index values in order to add a 4-point extra credit certificate to each student. Let's assume that the number scores variable gives me the number of values in the scores list array. Now we can use our range function to loop through every index in scores list using for I in range number scores. In this example, we assume number scores contains the total number of scores in the array. This loop ensures we visit every score in the array. For each iteration, we access the current score with scores list I and add 4 to it. This operation, scores list I equals scores list I plus 4, is equivalent to saying take the current value of scores list at index I, add 4 to it, and then update scores list at index I with this new value. Now, every student has had their score increased by 4 points thanks to their extra credit certificate, demonstrating a practical application of using loops and index values to manipulate arrays. I have another task for you to try that uses the same concept. I have a list of scores from yet another class. This class did extremely well on their piloting exam, and there are quite a few scores that are larger than 100. Our scoring system can only keep scores up to 100 though, so we need to go through all of the scores, and if the score is greater than 100, we want to set that score to 100. You will again use the array named scores list. Give it a try in your guided notes. So for this exercise, we want to start with the same loop we used last time, but within the for loop, we use an if statement to check if the current item we are looking at in scores list is greater than 100. If it is, we set that item to 100. As we brace ourselves against the threat of space pirates, it's imperative that we hone our skills in using the ship's laser for defense. Our trusty ship's scanner automatically identifies objects in our vicinity and assigns each object an index. To effectively utilize the ship's laser, you can employ the command shoot at index energy. Now here's the catch. The power of our laser is determined by the energy parameter, which ranges from 1 to 100. However, we must exercise caution as we have limited power reserves for the laser. Therefore, it's important to conserve energy whenever possible, using the maximum energy of 100 only when absolutely necessary. Currently, our scanner has detected 6 objects, all of them asteroids, each assigned an index from 0 to 5. For target practice, I'd like you to shoot at the asteroids with the indices 0, 1, and 4. Remember, precision and efficiency are key as we prepare to defend our ship against the looming threat of space pirates. Your training in shooting down these asteroids will prove invaluable in safeguarding our vessel. Now, let's set our sights on those asteroids and show those space pirates what we're made of. As we return from our cosmic journey through the world of arrays and indexing, I trust you've gathered invaluable knowledge about these fundamental concepts. Indices start from 0 and allow you to locate specific items within an array. We can access the values within the array by using its index value enclosed in square brackets. We can also modify the values contained in an array by using the array name with its index, just the same as we would use a simple variable. We can then use values within an array with operations and conditions, just as we do with any other simple variable. Be sure to complete the programming tasks, practice questions, and extension activities before moving on to the next lesson. Remember, in the universe of coding, the possibilities are infinite. I'll see you next time.
Hey, hey.